What's going on YouTube, and welcome to another Season 7 League of Legends Champion Guide. Today, we're going to cover AD carry Jinx, the loose cannon.
Rules are made to be broken. Like buildings. Or people.
So why exactly would you want to play Jinx AD carry? Well, she's got great wave clear from her rockets from the Q ability, and a very strong attack speed steroid from the other form of her Q ability. She has a very high damage global ultimate, which is a great execute ability, and even has crowd control, which comes from her E. Farming is then going to be pretty easy for you since you will have a lot of attack speed, and of course you have a decent range if you do need to use your rockets. Not only are they great for last hitting, but they're very strong for harassing, and of course can zone your enemies as well. Now with all that being said, Jinx does lack mobility and a built-in escape. If you do manage to bring down a tower or get a kill or assist, you do get that nice chunk of movement speed from your passive, but you're not always going to have this obviously. She is a fantastic late game hyper carry, however she is very weak early on in 1v1s, especially against those strong early game champions like Lucian. Then finally, depending on how much you're using your rockets and your W ability, you may have mana issues. For somebody having a really easy lane phase and being able to sit in minigun, this isn't going to be an issue, but for somebody that needs to use rockets consistently, you're going to have mana problems. For your masteries, I want to go 18 Ferocity and 12 Cunning, grabbing Fervor of Battle as your keystone mastery. Since Jinx likes to build a lot of attack speed and already has a built-in attack speed steroid, you'll be able to stack Fervor of Battle insanely quickly, and it's going to add a lot of damage for you. You of course still have the option of going for Warlord's Bloodlust, but I feel like Fervor of Battle is a much better option. As for the rest of your masteries, well, you're pretty much just focusing on getting as much damage as possible, while also having some nice sustain. For your runes, I'd recommend just going for the traditional AD carry runes and going for attack damage reds, armor yellows, magic resist blues, and attack speed quints. The attack speed and attack damage is going to make last hitting a lot easier, and when you do get in those 2v2 fights, of course you're going to deal more damage as well. Then of course we take that armor and the magic resist just to be a little bit more durable. You could also go for a page that does have glyphs of attack speed if you are feeling you're in a really easy matchup, but usually you'll want to stick with these ones. For your summoner spells, you'll want to stick with a standard as well, and go for Flash and Heal. Flash is a 100% requirement since Jinx is a very squishy champion that lacks a built-in escape ability. This spell can save you over and over throughout a game, and can be even used defensively to finish off somebody if somebody is too far away and Super Mega Death Rocket is in cooldown. Heal is then also a 100% requirement since it can be used to save both yourself and your bot lane partner. Not only is the heal itself fantastic, but the movement speed it also gives on activation is a great way to save your life as well, or to chase an enemy if you do need to. Your passive is Get Excited, and this can add some nice movement speed and attack speed in a team fight. Whenever an enemy champion or structure dies within 3 seconds of being damaged by Jinx, she gains 175% bonus movement speed, which decays over 6 seconds. Additionally, she gains 15% attack speed for the same duration, stacking indefinitely. So although Jinx is a very immobile champion, as long as a structure or champion dies within 3 seconds of her damaging it, she will get a nice chunk of it and actually be a pretty mobile champion. For that duration anyways. The movement speed will allow her to move through a team fight, and that attack speed will add a nice chunk of extra damage, and since it does stack, if she's getting multiple kills and assists, she can be a very high damage champion. Basically, when you're in a team fight, you'll want to sit on the back line and try to kill a champion, and as soon as you get this bonus movement speed, use it to move around the fight. Your Q ability is Switcheroo, and you can have either an attack speed steroid or a longer range and AoE damage. When you toggle Fishbones, Jinx loses 25% bonus attack speed, and her basic attacks cost mana, but they gain bonus range, deal 10% AD bonus damage, and can hit all enemies around the main target, and all damage components can critically strike. When you toggle Pow Pow, Jinx's basic attacks rev up her minigun, granting her bonus attack speed for 2.5 seconds, stacking up to 3 times for a maximum of 0 to 70 based on level, percentage bonus attack speed, plus an additional amount per rank. So this is your bread and butter ability because you have a scaling bonus attack speed on one and a scaling bonus range on the other. Usually you'll want to stay in Pow Pow as much as you can for its attack speed steroid, but Fishbones is also fantastic because it does AoE and the range is a lot longer. You have to be careful with the mana though because it is 20 mana per attack and that's a lot for a low level. In the lane phase though, try to abuse that bonus range so you can poke the enemy champion and take no damage in return. Your W ability is Zap, and it's a very high damaging ability that also applies a slow. When activated, after a short delay, Jinx fires a shock blast that deals physical damage to the first enemy it hits, revealing and slowing them for 2 seconds. This here is a really damn solid ability because it has a 140% AD ratio, and the slow scales from 30 to 70%. The downsides are the fact that it can be blocked by minions, and there is a short delay, so it is pretty dodgeable, although the speed is 3200. But as long as you can land this ability, it will deal a ton of damage and allow you to get off a lot more damage, since of course they will be slowed at the same time. This massive damage and the scaling slow is the reason we're going to want to max this ability second, right behind our Q ability. Your E ability is Flame Chompers, and this is your main crowd control ability that's even AoE. When activated, Jinx tosses out 3 Chompers that arm after 0.7 seconds and explode automatically after 5 seconds. Once armed, the Chompers will explode on contact with enemy champions. Exploding Chompers deal magic damage over 1.5 seconds to all enemies within a small area, and champions that set them off are rooted for the same duration. A single champion can only set off a single Chomper and can only be damaged by 1. So this is a really solid ability because it can technically CC 3 targets at once, however, it is AP based, so it's going to do basically no damage. Therefore, although it is an extremely solid ability, we will have to max this one last. To use this ability effectively, follow it up on somebody else's crowd control to chain CC them and get you some really easy kills. If an enemy champion is jumping on top of you, you can drop this underneath yourself as well, start running away, then slow them with your zap and kite for days. Your ultimate is Super Mega Death Rocket, and this is a global ultimate that makes a great execute ability. When activated, Jinx fires a rocket that travels in a line, exploding in an area upon hitting an enemy champion. Secondary targets take 80% damage. Enemies caught in the explosion take 15 to 150 based on distance traveled of the rocket's physical damage, though not the missing health component. So since a lot of this damage is based off targets' missing health, it makes a very good execute. The cooldown's also only between 90 and 60 seconds based on the rank, so you may as well be shooting it across the map and trying to land yourself some really easy kills. Whenever you're in a team fight, make sure you're watching out for a low health enemy and try to land this on them whenever you can. Sniping off a low health enemy is a great way to give yourself some nice gold and give your team a really solid advantage. For your skill order, you first want to put a point in your ultimate whenever you can at 6, 11, and 16. Then you'll want to focus on maxing your Q ability because it has scaling attack speed and scaling bonus range on each of the activates, which makes it very, very strong. Then we'll want to focus on maxing our W ability because it does have a scaling slow and 140% bonus AD ratio, making it insanely hard hitting. Then of course you'll want to save your Flame Chompers for last, get 1 point at level 2 or level 3, it depends on the support champion you're with. If they have hard CC, take it at 2, but if they don't, take it at 3. Now let's look at a couple support synergies, and first up is Thresh. Thresh is really nice because as soon as he lands a death sentence or a flay, you can follow up with your Flame Chompers. This will hold the enemy in place for a pretty damn long time, and it should result in a fairly easy kill. Since Jinx is an AD carry that lacks mobility, she can make great use of his Lantern as well. You can play a lot more aggressively than usual because you can rely on that Lantern being there to pull you back. Next here we have Leona, and with Leona you're going to form a pretty damn potent kill lane. As soon as she stuns the target, you can use your Flame Chompers right underneath and chain CC them for a rather long duration. She then has a pretty decent amount of burst damage herself, and with all your damage combined, you're going to get some really easy kills. She's then finally able to provide you all the peeling you need, and kiting away shouldn't be too much of an issue. Next here we have Lulu, who's probably the strongest support champion at the moment, and of course works great with Jinx. She'll be able to give you all sorts of nice peeling, and even be able to give you an attack speed steroid herself. When you combine yours with hers, well, you're going to do a lot of damage. If she's playing rather aggressively and poking, then make sure you use your rockets to add some additional damage to make your lane phase pretty damn easy. Last here is Sona, which is kinda like Lulu in the fact that she can add some damage with her Q ability and do a lot of nice peeling with her ultimate. Whenever Sona goes for an ultimate, make sure you use your Flame Chompers to chain crowd control and get a really easy kill. Other than that, she's pretty much going to be poking them with her Q ability, so make sure you're poking with rockets as well and try to whittle them down. In the lane phase, you'll want to try to rush level 2 so you hit that power spike before the enemy duo. Use the attack speed steroid from Switcheroo to get there first and go aggressive when you're level 2 and the enemy is still level 1. You'll want to take Flame Chompers at level 2 if you have a support with a crowd control, and you can easily chain with it. If they don't have one, however, then make sure you go for Zap for its high damage instead. At this point, you're basically looking to grab as much CS as you can because Jinx is a hyper carry and gets stronger as the game progresses. Whenever your support lands some crowd control though, or the jungler does come in, make sure you crowd control them with your Flame Chompers and then all in them. When teamfighting on an AD carry, you're going to need to make sure you're attacking the closest targets to you. Don't move into the middle of a fight to try to hit somebody on the back line, or you will get crowd controlled and probably die quickly. If one of the enemy tanks or carries is trying to get on top of you, then make sure you use Zap to slow them and start kiting away from them. If they're able to jump right on top of you, then you'll want to use your Flame Chompers instead to crowd control them, and then slow them with your Zap, and then start kiting. Finally, you'll want to make sure you're paying close attention to the backline as well, so you can execute low health enemies with your Super Mega Death Rocket as soon as you see them. Remember, you'll want to be using your minigun as long as you are safe, but if you have to, use your rockets. Now let's look at some hard matchups, and first up is Caitlyn. Caitlyn is your typical long-range AD carry that's going to bully the majority of AD carries out there. Once you get a bunch of points into your Q ability, you will outrange her with your rockets, but that will take a while. Try to avoid trading with her as much as you can early on, and farm up. If your support champion does land a crowd control on her, then use your flame chompers and go for an all-in. Next here we have Kog'Maw, who's an incredibly strong AD carry at the moment and has insane damage potential. He's also an insanely strong hyper carry, and basically his damage potential will always be higher than yours. To trade against him in lane, you'll want to engage on him whenever his W is in cooldown. If he does have it available, he's probably going to outdamage you, but if he doesn't, you're going to have a much bigger advantage. Next of course is Lucian, who's one of the strongest AD carries in the lane at the moment. He has insanely high burst damage, and there's not too much you can do to actually outtrade him. The good thing for you, however, is the fact that you outscale the absolute shit out of him. As long as you can make it to the late game, you should have a pretty big advantage. So that's exactly what your goal is. Try not to trade with him too much, get as much farm as you can, and make it to the late game. And finally we have the long-range team fighter, Twitch. Twitch is a champion you're going to have to try to abuse with your rockets because he becomes an absolute monster in the late game. Although you're also insanely strong, his damage is AoE, and if people do line up, he can take out an entire team in seconds. If he also gets ahead of you, well, he can stealth gank you and pretty much just blow you up. Poke him as much as you can and chain your crowd controls with your support champion to bring his ass down. Alright, with all that covered, let's look at our item build, which starts with a Doran's Blade, Health Potion, and a Warding Totem. For your core build, you want to go for a Runan's Hurricane, Infinity Edge, and a Rapid Fire Cannon. This will give you plus crit damage, 80% critical strike chance, and a lot of attack speed. You're going to do an absolutely insane amount of damage with this core build, and you can delete people really quickly. Now with the changes to the Blade of the Ruined King, it's also a very viable first buy. If you're against either a very hard lane matchup or a very tanky team, then I would go for Blade of the Ruined King instead. For your boot options, we of course have Berserker Greaves for attack speed, or Ninja Tabbies if you're against a very high AD team and you do want some defensives. I pretty much honestly just always go for Berserkers myself. For your item pool, you first have the Bloodthirster. This is a really great way to add more damage and get some lifesteal if you didn't go for Blade of the Ruined King. The shield it provides then makes you just a little bit more durable as well. Now if you felt like there was a lot of crowd controls and you were eventually going to be hit by one, then you may want to get a Mercurial Scimitar instead. This item of course has that QSS component that does allow you to break out of those CCs. It also has a really good amount of damage and some lifesteal, making it a fantastic item. Then if you wanted some armor penetration, you'd want either an LDR or a Mortal Reminder. Generally, I will go for the LDR, but if I do need Grievous Wounds because there's something like a Swain or a Mundo, then I will of course go for the Mortal Reminder. Another viable item is the Maw. It has some pretty nice damage, but it also has a really good defensive shield. If there is some AP assassins that you fear are going to burst you, then you may want to pick this item up. Another really solid defensive, of course, would be the Guardian Angel. It's a fantastic late game item that will allow you to come back to life, and of course the armor in the Magic Resist makes you a little bit more durable as well. For my normal full build though, I'll take the core build, get the Berserker Greaves, and then a Bloodthirster and an LDR. I'll have that 80% crit, a lot of attack speed, bonus crit damage, of course the lifesteal, and the armor penetration to kill tanky targets. It's an incredibly strong build, and as long as you don't need a defensive, then you would want to go for something like this. Against really tanky teams, or if you're in a hard matchup, pretty much you just want to have the Blade of the Ruined King instead of the Bloodthirster, and you'd want to build it first. But that, ladies and gentlemen, covers everything I've got for AD Carry Jinx in Season 7. Don't forget to check out the video description below for a link to all my social medias, and I also have my Discord server and my Twitch down there as well, so it's definitely something you should check out. Also, if you guys did enjoy the video, please like and subscribe, but other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I will see you in the next one. Take it easy, have a good day, and peace.